Good morning, students. Today we are going to take up the first chapter of history, that is history when, where and how. The learning objectives of the chapter will include, first of all, the students will be able to know about the word history, that is the meaning of the word history. Second, the students should be able to know about why do we study the past, that is why do we study history. You must be wondering why do we study history. In this chapter we are going to take up all these things. The third one is we are going to take up the sources of first chapter, that is when, where and how. The objectives of the chapter will include meaning of history, need for studying history and sources of history. First of all, coming to the first point, that is what is history. History is who we are and why we are the way we are. History is not just the past, history is the present. Coming to the literal meaning of the word history, that is, the word history is derived from a Greek word historia, which means inquiry or investigation into the past. History is the past record of the people, places and events. The order of arranging the events which happen first, followed by the events which happen later, is called chronology. Now, history allows us a chance to understand how people lived, dressed, ate and functioned many years ago. History is not just about kings and nobility or heroes. It is about humankind and its growth. It helps us to know how, why, when, and where things happened. It helps us to learn lessons from the past and thus makes our future better. Now, the second objective of the chapter, that is why do we study history? First of all, to understand change and how our society came to be. To learn from past successes and failures, to understand and respect one another, to develop our critical thinking skills. Now, history answers many questions about the past, like how our ancestors evolved, how did agriculture begin, what were the food habits of people in olden days, and so on. How, where, and when our early ancestors appeared. Through the past, we understand how and why our ancestors lived as they did, and in what manner they overcame the difficulties that came in their way. The story of our past tells us how agriculture, irrigation, animal husbandry began, and how it led to a more secure and settled life. Through the study of history, we come to know about many great kings, queens, leaders, as well as ordinary people who have contributed to our culture and civilization. Studying history is also necessary to know how writing developed, how the languages that we speak today came into existence, and how our ancient heritage in art, literature, religion, and architecture was created. The sources of history. There are two types of sources of history. That is, first one is archaeological source and the second one is literary source. Archaeological sources are direct evidences. They cannot be handled by human. This tells us about history. Now, the examples of archaeological sources includes inscription, monuments, artifacts, coins, monuments, remains of monuments, etc. The literary sources, that is the second type of source of history, includes anything that has been written that you cite as your source material. Now, the sources of ancient Indian history, which includes your archaeological sources of history, it includes, as I told you earlier, artifacts, monuments, coins, inscriptions. Archaeological sources or material remains of people who lived in the past, such as buildings, houses, pots and pans, monuments, coins, tools, jewelry, writings on stone, walls, and pieces of metal plates and food remains help in reconstructing the past. Now, this is an example of an inscription, which is also an example of your archaeological source of history. This is edicts, the example of edicts, that is edicts of Ashoka. Other one is this remains of building, as I've mentioned earlier in the chapter. These are the pots, pans. Now, archaeological sources are divided into the following, that is your inscriptions and edicts, monuments, coins, artifacts, and other objects. Now, inscriptions are writings engraved on rocks, pillars, cave walls, walls of forts, palaces, and temples, and on clay and copper tablets. Coming to the literary sources include all kinds of literature, long and short, written and oral. Historians estimate that writing began around 6000 BCE. Humans developed different types of scripts. People recorded events and memories by hand. These handwritten records are known as manuscripts. They were written on rocks, palm leaves, bark of birch trees, clay tablets, and later paper. Now this is one of the forms of the literary sources, that is religious. The literary source is divided into two forms again in turn, that is your religious sources and secular sources. Now this one is an example of literary source of literature. The Yajurved, different types of Vedas, the Brahmi script, Arthashastra, that is Kautilya has written Arthashastra, the Vedas. Now the secular literature includes your books or texts that are not of a religious nature, like your biographies, autobiographies, court chronicles, books such as Kautilya's Arthashastra I have mentioned earlier, etc. Now let us watch the next video, that is Sources on History.
Sources of History. In this module, you will learn about the study of various types of historical sources and its importance in the construction of history. Historical sources are the foundation to understand a particular era back in time. They help us to gain knowledge about important events, inventions, cultures, civilizations, and many other aspects about society. They serve as evidence in the construction of history. Let us take a look at some of the historical sources of history. Literary sources are original sources of information in the form of documents or recordings created in the past. There are two kinds of literary sources of history: native literature and foreign literature. Native literature is the literature produced by the indigenous people of a given era. Some examples of native literature of India are Vishak Dattas, Mudra Rakshas, Kalhanas, Rajtarargini, Ashwaghosha's Buddha Charitra, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Amogh Varsha's Kavi Rajamarga, and the Tripitakas of Buddhist literature. Foreign literature refers to the writings of foreign visitors, explorers, and scholars. Some examples of foreign literary sources are Megasthenes Indica, Huan Sang's Siyuki, Fa Hein's Fu Ko Ki, Ceylon's Deepvansh, and Mahavansh. The writings of Farneo Nunes, who visited the Vijayanagar Empire, and the writings of Domingos Pais, Duarte Barbosa, and Niccolo di Conti. Archaeological sources of history are the artifacts like inscriptions, coins, monuments, pots and pans that have been obtained during archaeological excavations. Let us learn about inscriptions, coins, and monuments. Inscriptions provides us with information about the religion, culture, administration, economy, and other aspects of a given place during that period. The earliest inscription found in India was written by the Mauryan Emperor, Ashoka. These inscriptions were engraved on rock edicts, slabs, and stone pillars. Some of these edicts have been found in Maski in Raichur district and Brahmagiri in the Chitradurga district of Karnataka. The inscriptions found in India are mostly in the Brahmi script and the Prakrit language. The Halmidi inscription is believed to be the first inscription available in the Kannada language. Numismatics is the study of the evolution, nature, and development of coins. Early coins have been minted by using a variety of metals. A study of these coins helped gain knowledge about the minting technologies used, as well as the religious, economic, administrative, and social aspects. They help us to know about the important rulers or famous personalities of that era from the images on the coins. Stupas, basadis, or Jain temples, palaces, and fort ruins are the kinds of monuments which exist today. These monuments enable us to know about the unique architectural designs and technological, social, religious, political, and economic conditions of that period. They reflect the achievements of kings and administrators. Ashoka's pillars, Ajanta and Ellora caves, the Elephanta caves, Badami, Aihole, and Pattadakal of Karnataka are evidences of India's glorious heritage. A legend is a story from the past that is believed by many people but cannot be proved to be true. Legends are also referred to as Sthala Puranas. There are many legends about individuals, events, and customs of the past which have been passed down the ages. Although legends do not provide direct information relating to an event, they reflect the social beliefs which prevailed in the society. Let us now recap all the important points that we have covered in this module on sources of history.